Step into the time machine. Let's travel through the past. Mr. Gold's gonna take you on a history blast. From ancient civilizations to the world wars. Get ready, hold tight.
Hey guys, in this video I'm going to give a brief overview of the start of World War II. So the plan is to give the lead in and then stop right before the major battles. So if you need to learn about causes of World War II, stick with me and we'll get through those here. So the long-term causes of World War II, they're really the one that lasted for 20 years, was the Treaty of Versailles. This treaty came in 1917 after World War I, and it was mostly a punishment for Germany. If you've studied World War I, you know that Germany was the aggressor in the war, and they were also the loser in the war. So they started most of the fighting and they lost. And because of that, the countries who won and still had power, they put some heavy punishment known as reparations on Germany. This led to the second major cause, which was economic problems. During the 1930s, the whole world was going through major slowdowns economically, which led to especially for Germany, difficulty paying back their debt. And in order to pay back their debt, they needed to print a lot more money. Printing the money caused long-term effects that we're going to cover in a later slide, but that was the second major cause. Third major cause, the rise of dictators. You have Adolf Hitler, Benito Mussolini, Emperor Hirohito of Japan. You have these three major leaders who take dictatorial power, which means they no longer have control by the people in Germany. Japan never, up to this point, never really had a government by the people, for the people. And Italy was also used to monarchies. So these three countries all are led by a powerful, strong man. And we can throw Stalin in the mix too, even though his side didn't start the war. Stalin was also a dictator at this time. And then our fourth cause is alliances. The difference between a regular war and a world war is that a world war has multiple groups fighting and not just one-on-one. So the alliances in this war are going to be Hitler of Germany, Mussolini of Italy, and Hirohito of Japan versus the United States, Great Britain, France, Russia, and a few of the North African countries. Here's our timeline. By the end of this video, we're going to get to 1941. So the Treaty of Versailles, why was it such a major cause of the war? It caused Germany to accept responsibility for starting World War I. If you're someone like Hitler, you're not going to like accountability and responsibility, and you're going to fight back against that. So that's one of the reasons that they had to take responsibility of World War I and also reduce their military and pay back the damages they caused. They had to give up the land that they had taken and also limit their future military sizes. Germany's not going to like that. Second cause, economic problems. A lot of joblessness, people that don't have enough means to feed themselves worldwide. So even in America, we had our Great Depression, and that's just going to put a premium on any money. Like if you have a little bit of money, you can pay a lot. You can buy a lot in America. But in Germany, it's the opposite. They crank up the printing presses to pay their reparations. Hitler blames the Jews at this time. This is the first real time where Hitler is saying it's the Jews' fault and we need to punish the Jews or take money from the Jews. He blames the Jews for causing the Treaty of Versailles, even though he doesn't have any evidence for it. And he blames the hyperinflation on the rich Jewish banks and the Jewish race as a whole. Here's an image, or three images, that show how much money was being printed. Little kids are using it as building blocks. People are sweeping the money off the streets in the first picture because it's just everywhere. You hear the famous example of wheelbarrows being used to buy a loaf of bread. And so the Germans are desperate for a leader that can solve their problems. And that's where this man on the right comes in. When things are going well for a country, this is just a general thing, this isn't just Germany, but when things are going well, democracy seems to be a really good solution because everybody gets a voice, we're all equal, we're all holding hands and singing kumbaya, whatever. Democracy's perfect for these times. But when times are extremely bad, people start looking for dramatic solutions. And democracy, since it takes so long to vote and have elections and all that, it becomes less appealing than dictatorship. So think about, like, people always ask, how could we ever have a leader like Hitler come to power? People were desperate. They were starving, and he talked a good game, and so people are more likely to listen to that charismatic, loud, vocal leader when times are really bad. When times are good, they'd rather have a voice, and they'd rather let everyone speak and vote. The vocabulary terms: dictator, one who has complete power; fascism, a type of government led by a dictator who leads with absolute force; and then totalitarianism, a type of government that controls all aspects. The root word there is total, of people's public and private lives. So, as I mentioned earlier, after World War I, support for democracy begins to fall apart. People want quick and easy solutions. They don't want to vote and hope that things get better over a period of several years. They want it right now. They want that leader that'll make strong decisions and make them quickly and put their country first above other countries. So here's the leaders that we mentioned before. Here's the alliances we mentioned before. And here's the short-term causes. So Hitler himself didn't cause World War II right away. The policies that he put into place over time eventually were the main cause, but at first he was sort of behind the scenes in Germany. So his main goals, he wanted to make Germany powerful again. He was tired of seeing other countries having money and having nice amenities and bossing Germany around and telling them what to do with their military. So he wanted to make them powerful again and get rid of the Treaty of Versailles restrictions on his military. He wanted to eliminate Jewish people from Europe. He blamed them for most of Germany's problems and used them as a scapegoat for what was happening, and said that everything would be better again if we could just get rid of that group of people. And then he wanted to establish the Third Reich. So he wanted Germany to be a 1,000-year empire that was run by Aryans, aka white Germans, that were not disabled and not homosexual and not gypsies. So he had like a certain archetype of human that he wanted to see in power, and then remove the rest that were not that group. Hitler's aggression. He did 5 things that went against the treaty before the war started. And Britain and France saw this happening. They bordered Germany on the west and southwest, and so they did a policy called appeasement. They were like, okay, well, he's only doing a few things that are against the treaty, but we still have X, Y, and Z. So they used a strategy of appeasement, similar to the picture in the bottom left, the kid in the candy store. Like, the mom's like, hey, if you just shut up for 5 minutes, I'll give you some candy. Or if you stop crying, I'll give you some candy. And then the kid eats the candy, and he's quiet for a few minutes, and then he gets loud again. That's kind of how France and Germany handled Hitler. So the first thing he did, he moves his troops into the Rhineland. According to the Treaty of Versailles, this was supposed to belong to France and not supposed to have German troops in it. But Hitler quickly breaks that part of the treaty, moves troops into the Rhineland. Step 2, he annexes Austria. This is called the Anschluss, where Hitler wanted to take Austrian land because there was a lot of Aryans there. And he formed the Austrian Anschluss, which is the union between Germany and Austria. That striped land is what he's taking. Third thing, he wants the Sudetenland. This is a part of Czechoslovakia, but there was German citizens there, or people that were German that lived there. And Hitler said, okay, well, any land that has Germans in it needs to belong to Germany. We're not going to be part of another country. And that's really similar to what you hear in Ukraine right now. Like, if Eastern Ukraine has Russians in it, Putin is saying, oh, that needs to belong to Russia if it's got Russian citizens in it, or people of Russian descent. And so Czechoslovakia asks for help. They say, hey, he's trying to take our land. Britain and France, come help me. They have the Munich conference where people meet with Hitler, and they end up giving in. They use that A word, appeasement, again, where they said Hitler could have the Sudetenland if he promises not to take anything else. Okay, you can have the one piece of candy as long as you stop crying. Hitler promised, but knowing what we know now, obviously he wasn't a good person to make promises with, because he's not going to hold up his end of the bargain. And the famous mistaken words of Chamberlain from Britain, he says, we'll finally have peace in our time, end quote. First thing he does, Hitler that is, he takes all of Czechoslovakia. So they gave him the Sudetenland. He promises peace. They think it's over, but he wants more. Hitler needs more land. So he takes all of Czechoslovakia. Britain and France still do not declare war. And then finally, the fifth thing he did, invasion of Poland, September 1939. Hitler invades Poland because part of this land used to be Germany. He doesn't think Britain and France will do anything. They end up declaring war on him in 1939. And September 3rd, 1939, World War II officially begins. So that's your video on the causes of World War II. Hopefully this gives you the context to understand why the war happened and who the players are. You notice the U.S. and Russia are not involved at this time. U.S. has a neutrality act where we will not fight, and Russia has a non-aggression pact with Germany at this time, where Germany and Russia both agreed, hey, I don't attack you if you don't attack me. We'll both do what we want to other countries, but we'll be friends when it comes to our relationship. So you have those two major players, the U.S. and Russia, still aren't involved yet. But that's it for this video. I hope it helps you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Step into the time machine. Let's travel through the past. Mr. Gold's gonna take you on a history blast.